Welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World for episode 10 of our new figure showcase, where I'll be doing a quick review / posing session with the newest addition to my collection. And today we're actually looking at a figure that I wasn't expecting until later on, but I was pleasantly surprised to get him early, and that is the Reptilian from Premier Toys. Now, this is clearly another unlicensed third-party figure, and it is a version of the Lizard as he appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, and later on in Spider-Man No Way Home, making his entrance into the MCU. So, before we jump into the figure, let's start by saying that I never thought anyone would actually make this guy. As far as the villains in No Way Home were concerned, he was pretty much on par with Sandman in terms of having pretty reduced screen time. Maybe a little better than Sandman, to be honest. And he's a big, bulky villain towering over Spider-Man, so I was pleasantly surprised to actually have a version of him released. And of course, following this, Hot Toys is also releasing their own partial version of Lizard as a diorama piece that pairs up with the Andrew Garfield No Way Home Spider-Man. And a quick aside, has anyone been able to order that figure? He hasn't been released for pre-order by Sideshow at all. So I'm guessing it's some kind of a licensing issue, but time is ticking, so I'm curious what's happening there, and I'm getting a little antsy. If there's any place that still has these up for pre-order, just let me know. But let's get back to why we're here, which is this figure. And first things first, he's big. I don't know why I didn't expect him to be this big, but he stands out. And I even have him pictured here standing next to the Advanced Suit Spider-Man by Hot Toys from Far From Home. And you can see that he towers over him. Not sure about the accuracy of the scale, to be honest, but it looks good with the Spidey figure, so no real complaint there. As far as what he comes with just a handful of accessories, including a pair of interchangeable gripping hands and the vials that he has in The Amazing Spider-Man carrying the toxin that will turn people into lizards. And he also comes with his lab coat, and if you look at it, it's heavily distressed and torn, which is great. Now, looking more closely at the hands, they're actually really well done. The skin on both has a ton of texturing and crevices and nooks and crannies painted in, and great paintwork creating that leather-like feel to the skin, and it looks very much like a lizard would. I do wish the claws were a little bit better in terms of paint apps, but it's not a deal breaker at all. For the vials, they're a pretty straightforward accessory, but they're done well with the green plastic supported on these metal canisters. And the paint apps on the canisters are really done great. They're great, creating a nice metallic feel with some pretty good detailing as well. They are fairly simple accessories, but it's nice to see that Premier Toys still provided something of a really decent quality here. Now, let's look at the figure, and we have to start with the sculpt. And Premier Toys did an amazing job here. I think looking at stills from both movies, and granted it is a CG character, the sculpt looks pretty accurate to what was created that. But beyond that, the work that Premier Toys put in here is fantastic. The texturing on the skin and the paint applications to create the scale-like feel look amazing. The work around the eyes too, I'm a big stickler for eyes really bringing these figures to life, and it's really impressive here as well. They used a great paint to create that glossy look for the eyes, and you can even see a faint pink coloring around the edges. So again, it makes that figure feel very lifelike. Moving down to the mouth, and I think that's where the figure shines again. The teeth are painted so well, with each tooth being a distinctive element, and then throwing the work around the tongue and the overall expression. I mean, he's impressive, and obviously he's kind of in a rage, screaming look, so it definitely brings the figure to life. And as an added detail, there are these two small strands of, I don't know if it's epoxy, but it creates the illusion of saliva basically dripping between his upper and lower jaws. So it's really, really well done here, and I'm kind of impressed considering that this is a third-party figure. Panning down and looking at the body, I should note that the sculpt, the arms, and the legs are all hard plastic, while the chest and the torso, and including the tail, are covered in a lighter rubber-like material. Again, the texturing around the body showing the muscles and skin are done well with that screen-accurate lighter green on his chest and inner thighs. The only negative on mine is that there is some slight paint rub here and there. It's not enough to detract from the figure, but just something to be aware of as you're handling him and posing him. The legs, though, again, sculpt work, really impressive here. And I don't know if it comes across in the video, but they've done some awesome indentations and crevices along the thighs that really give you that lizard-like skin feel, and they painted it really well as well. The feet are okay. I don't think they're at the same level of sculpt work as the legs, but they still look good. Although, again, I wish the claws just had a little more definition. The arms look great with the skin folds and muscles again. Great level of detail here, and I think it's pretty faithful recreation of what we saw on screen. So kudos to Premier Toys to what they're delivering here. As for the tail, like I mentioned before, it's covered in that softer rubber, and I think the tail has a flexible wire in it. It feels akin to those flight poles that we've gotten with some of the Hot Toys Iron Man and Spider-Man figures. So it's great because it does allow you to keep a good position on the tail, and it's also good because the tail does serve as a prop of sorts to keep the figure standing. So overall thoughts on this release are, I'm impressed. I didn't know what to expect going in, and what I'm getting here isn't bad at all. There are a few things that could have been done better. The joints where the legs meet the torso, for example, I really hate the gap there, but the other joints are okay, so I can almost forgive that given how much they got right here. The elbow joints are a little more evident, but when you look at the figure with the jacket on, they're hidden, so it's not a concern there. The knee joints are also hidden well, so they did a pretty decent job with those, which is a compliment to them. My one complaint with the joints, though, is more that they feel a little bit loose. For example, trying to get him to stand up straight without the knees being bent is difficult, and you definitely have to use the tail to prop the figure up. So it can get a little annoying and frustrating, but it doesn't. You can still get the figure in some really good poses. Just something to again keep in mind. But again, I think overall the feeling here is that this is a really solid effort, and I think it looks really great. Particularly the sculpt work, it's just impressive. Now, Premier Toys did also have a version of the Lizard, which was a mid-transformation Dr. Connors. It looked okay, but honestly, the sculpt work on that prototype didn't look that great to me, so I just opted for this one, and I'm happy with the choice. I think he'll fit in well with my MCU Spider-Man villain shelf. As far as accessories, the only thing I do wish that Premier had included here was the messenger bag that he carries in the first movie. There's a shot where he basically has the messenger bag and he's cranked open the 2 vials of toxins. So it would have been nice to get that, but I think it's something that I can try to get on the secondary market or get from one of these other outfits. I might try to add him to add that piece so that I can recreate that scene. As far as the coat, I don't know how I'm going to display him. The coat looks great, right? The coat looks like it's been torn up, it's dirty, he's been through the sewers of New York with it, so it really looks great. And it obviously matches some of the scenes from the movie, from The Amazing Spider-Man, and it also reminds me of the Lizard from the Saturday morning cartoons with the jacket. But if I am trying to go for that No Way Home display, then the jacket would have to come off. I am curious to see how this figure will scale ultimately with the diorama base that we're getting from Hot Toys. I think it's nice to have the full figure, but again, that display base that Hot Toys is giving us with the Amazing Spider-Man looks really good. So I think for me, I'm happy to have both, right? The diorama base definitely elevates the Spider-Man figure, but it's nice to have the full Lizard as well. If only I can actually get that base, which is another concern, but we'll see about that. But for now, I'm really happy having this guy in my collection, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what else Premier Toys has coming. So with that out of the way, what do you think of this figure? Do you think it's a decent release, or is there something you're seeing that I missed that might be on the negative side? I have to be honest, I do feel like third-party companies are stepping up their game lately. So I think it's still an exciting time to be in the collecting game, and I think some of the delays that companies like Hot Toys are having, and not that third parties aren't delayed either, but but Hot Toys seems to be getting hit pretty hard, definitely opens up the door for collectors like us to pick up some more of these figures. And if the quality can continue to be what we're seeing here, I don't think we'll be disappointed. Also considering the price point, right? And granted, these are third-party unlicensed figures, so that also does factor into the cheaper price. But I'm really happy with the purchase, and I'm curious to see what's next from them. Now, as always, I do appreciate you watching these videos, and if you are enjoying the content and are so inclined, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Like I mentioned before, I really do appreciate everyone that's watched the video so far and everyone that's subscribed to the channel, and I will have more reviews coming in the next few days. Take care, and we'll touch base on the next video.